Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2. It's a beautiful, crisp autumn day here in North Carolina, and I am busy at work getting ready for my upcoming Halloween costume ball. As I said in my last episode, we are going to be tackling some much bigger and much more complex projects in this episode. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a spooky snack, and follow along as I create some of the biggest ideas I've had to date. So before we get started on our next project for this party, I want to go ahead and talk about this banner that I made. I thought it would be really cool to have a banner made up of a bunch of old vintage illustrations because it's kind of hard to find modern day productions that look vintage or even have vintage imagery on them, especially now with the god-awful world of AI taking over most of the decor industry. I feel that it's very hard to find authentic vintage imagery on decorations. So I had the idea to put my Photoshop skills to use and combine together a bunch of my favorite greeting card illustrations from way back, and I've kind of Frankensteined a lot of them together into these little vignettes. And I've arranged them on a sheet here where I can cut these out, and we're just gonna punch holes and attach them together to create our garland. I am so happy with how this little garland turned out. I think that these are gonna look super cute strung up everywhere. And if you guys would like to print out and make your own version of this garland, I will have a download available in the description below. So now let's talk games. I've got a few ideas for some games that I want to have at the party. I know most people are probably going to be busy kind of running around and mingling, and we will also have a costume contest to determine who gets to beat the piñata that we made in episode 1. For the party games, I would really love to have a spin on the vintage sort of fortune pumpkin that I've seen in a lot of the old Halloween party illustrations. The idea is that you set out a jack-o'-lantern and you tie a bunch of fortunes onto strings and you put them in the pumpkin, and then when everybody shows up, they get to pull a string to pick their fortune. So we're gonna do a kind of a spin on that, and I'm gonna be repurposing my vintage moon head from my Halloween costume last year. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably a little bit sad that I am cutting into this, but the truth is I'm not gonna be wearing this again, and I figured why not use it for something else and put it out on display, because I think it's really cool, and I just, you know, I want to do something with it. So I'm going to be using this to create like a bucket to put all of the fortunes in, starting by cutting a piece of cardboard that's just a little bit bigger than the base of it to kind of cover the hole in the bottom. And I'm also going to go ahead and cut a hole in the top to have the fortunes go in. Using some black duct tape, I'm going to start taping the cardboard onto the bottom from the inside. Then going back with a little bit of hot glue, I'm just gonna reinforce that edge just so that this is extra secure. Lastly, I'm gonna take some orange crepe paper streamers and I'm gonna be hot gluing these around that cardboard base that we put on. I'm just putting a line of glue about 2 inches long, and then I'm scrunching my streamers into the line of glue to kind of give it like a ruffled collar look around his neck. You can also use a needle and string to kind of cinch your paper if you want to do it that way, but since this is such a kind of last minute project, I just want to kind of scrunch it up and make it look as best as I can. So I've got the bucket done and I think it looks really awesome. I think that this was like a really great use of this moon head, and honestly, I kind of like it even better as a decor piece rather than for a costume. So this worked out beautifully and I didn't really have to like make anything. I've also gone ahead and prepared a little bowl of handwritten fortunes here that we're gonna be taping onto some streamers. I'm just gonna pull out, you know, probably about that long. And then I'm just gonna use a little bit of masking tape because it's not that sticky. And I'm just gonna attach my fortunes onto my streamers, just like that. And then all of these are gonna go in the pumpkin. And the rest of these streamers are just gonna hang out. So now it is time to go ahead and start working on our next project for this party, which is going to be something much bigger than anything I have ever done. I'm going to be constructing a massive character for the dance floor of this party. I really want a large paper mache sculpture to hang over the dance floor to kind of look down over all of the guests as they enter. So I'm thinking I'm going to paper mache a giant witch. I kind of debated a lot on what character I wanted to do for this, but at the end of the day, I think that a witch is going to be the creepiest and the most impactful. So I know for a fact that I want this character to be absolutely ginormous, like the biggest thing I've ever sculpted. I'm gonna need a crap ton of cardboard because that's what I'm gonna be using to sculpt the entire thing. Luckily, I was able to get this amazing pile of cardboard from a good friend of mine, Morgan. Thank you so much, Morgan, if you're watching this. And I'm gonna be using all of this cardboard to sculpt this entire thing. So first things first, I want to start by constructing the hands for this witch. I'm starting with the hands because I want to make sure that they are symmetrical and that they're both the same size. So I think it's going to be easiest to start with the hands and then build her head to sort of go off the scale of her hands. I was able to find these two boxes that were roughly the same size and shape that I'm going to be using to build the base. I'm going to take some masking tape and start taping in some wooden dowel rods to give me kind of a support for the fingers. And then I'm going to start using these little cardboard tubes that I found to start constructing each joint. Now that I've got a pretty good armature for her hands, I'm gonna go ahead and start like bulking them up a little bit and rounding them out and making the shapes feel a little more organic. Just using some more masking tape and some packing paper to kind of bulk up the shape. I'm gonna start molding my paper into the shape of a hand and trying to thicken up the base of the fingers as well as sort of create the shape of the palm as well as her wrist. I honestly just love sculpting with cardboard and paper because it makes everything so easy. You can build pretty much any shape that you need to build, and it's very inexpensive and you can find it basically for free. So now that I've got her hands completely constructed, we're gonna go ahead and start working on her face and the rest of her head. Now, I've never sculpted a human face this large, so I'm a little bit, skeptical as to how this is gonna go, but we're gonna give it our best shot, and I'm just gonna start free-forming her face out of cardboard. Just using a variety of different cardboard boxes and taping them together, and then using a bunch of flat pieces to sort of carve out and create the shapes for her face, working in many different layers and trying to just build it up as I go. I decided not to start with a concept sketch or go off of any kind of references. I just wanted to completely freeform this on the spot and try and do the best that I can to make her look like a vintage witch illustration. And again, I'm also going to be using a lot of packing paper to sort of bulk up the softer shapes like her cheekbones and her eyebrows, as well as her nose to kind of start sculpting out the structure of it. And now I'm not really worried about this being too sturdy. I'm just trying to make it all stick together and hold together long enough because we're going to be paper macheing over all of this anyway.
it'll be heavy when she goes up to shape.
So our cardboard sculpt is completely done, and I am really happy with how this is looking so far. So now we can go ahead and start paper macheing this entire sculpture. Just using the same glue and water mixture from episode 1, I'm going to begin layering on my paper. So I really want this first coat to be as sturdy and as smooth as possible, because this is going to be the final result. I'm using very small pieces of paper to try and coat all of the shapes as best as I can, making sure that the hat is sealed onto the head, and just making sure that nothing has any room to sort of wiggle or tear off. Once I've got all of my paper mache applied, I'm now going to leave her to dry. And because I'm kind of in a time crunch again, I'm going to be kind of constructing a makeshift dehydrator to put her in, essentially, because I need her to dry out as fast as possible. For this, I kind of was able to rig up a series of cardboard boxes inside this little like dog cage, and I was able to put a space heater and a small box fan to kind of circulate some warm air inside of it. And honestly, this did the trick, and she dried in about 24 hours. So now that our sculpture is completely dry, I'm gonna go ahead and start painting the whole thing. Just using a variety of different cheap acrylic paints, I'm gonna be coating the entire thing with a base coat of brown that I kind of watered down to create like a stain, so that it could kind of soak into all of the cracks of the paper and really kind of give us like a darker base to work from. Once I've got this brown stain put on, I'm gonna let it dry completely, and then I'm gonna start mixing up a sort of light green color to start putting in her skin tone. Just using a little bit of this on my brush, I'm gonna start dry brushing it onto the surface to start bringing out some of the texture and details in the sculpt. I'm then going to go back in with a slightly darker green, and I'm going to start darkening up the deep spots. So under her cheekbones and around her eye sockets and anywhere that I think it needs a little bit more depth. Using this same darker green, I'm also going to be applying some wrinkle lines just at the corners of her eyes and around her lips to kind of make her look a little bit older. Once I was happy with her overall skin tone, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing all of the little details for her eyes and her mouth and any other little spots that need touching up around the sculpt. With her face completely painted, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on her hat. The hat's pretty easy because it's just solid black. It is a lot of surface area to cover, but I'm just gonna be giving it 2 full coats of black paint, and then we can start working on her hair. For the hair, I'm gonna be doing the same technique that we did in episode 1 when creating our tassel for the piñata. Just using some black crepe paper streamers, I'm gonna start cutting these up to create wefts of paper hair for her scalp. I had to make about 30 different wefts to cover this surface area, but it really didn't take me that long, and I think I only used about 1 roll of streamers. Now that I've got all of the wefts of hair completely made, I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing them onto her scalp, and with that, our witch is essentially done. So it is finally time to tackle our final project for this entire event, which is going to be the entrance. Now, this is kind of, in my opinion, like one of the most important parts of an event like this is the entrance to the ballroom. I really want it to be something that's like big and impactful, and I want it to be intimidating and really be like, oh wow, like what are we walking into? Like that's kind of the energy I want it to have. So I'm thinking we're gonna try and build a big funhouse mouth situation that you kind of walk through to enter the party. I'm hoping that we can try and build an entire sort of funhouse mouth entrance out of cardboard and a few other supplies. And the goal is to try and make this look as much as I can like those creepy vintage sort of like paper mache and illustrated devils of like old Halloween greeting cards. I want it to have that kind of like American Horror Story freak show, kind of just like big, scary, vintage devil mouth, kind of Dante's Inferno. That's kind of the goal that we're going for, but we'll see how it turns out. When we were thinking about the idea for this entrance, I was trying to come up with like, what is gonna hold it all together? Like, how are we gonna get this devil mouth around the doorway in a way that's sturdy and is not gonna like blow around because it's so big? We came up with the idea to just build a wooden frame out of some cheap pieces of wood, just using some zip ties and kind of attaching them together, making sure that the frame is the right size to fit around the door. And this way we can attach our cardboard pieces to the frame so that it has a little bit more stability. And then when it comes time to actually set the entrance up outside, we can just hammer some stakes in the ground and screw the frame onto our stakes. Once we've got our frame completely put together and it's about the right size, we're gonna go ahead and start working on our cardboard pieces. For this, I am gonna be enlisting the help of some of my amazing friends once again, because we have a lot of cutting to do, and this is a lot of really big pieces of cardboard that we're gonna have to cut for this project. I went ahead and mapped out all of the shapes that we're gonna have to cut out of cardboard to build the different layers of our face. That way I could kind of just like go ahead and sketch them out and then have everybody work on cutting out cardboard, because we're gonna be using some pretty sturdy cardboard and it's quite tough to cut through. So I'm gonna need some extra hands to help me cut through all of this cardboard. We were able to attach our cardboard pieces to our wooden frame by using some zip ties, punching a few holes in the cardboard, and then just wrapping it all the way around the frame. This technique honestly worked out really well, and it's got quite a bit of stability to it. I highly recommend this if you're building any sort of large cardboard cutouts. Adding a wooden framework to the back is super easy and very inexpensive. Because I want this devil mouth to have the illusion that it's much more three-dimensional than it actually is, I'm gonna be putting some risers behind some of the panels of the face to kind of bring out some depth. So we're kind of first gluing some support pieces underneath where, the cheeks are gonna go and the nose, just to kind of raise them off of the main face panel. So now that we've got all of our pieces completely put together, it's time to actually stand this devil up. It's very intimidating, and I have to say we were quite proud of ourselves. It's day 2, and we're gonna go ahead and start working on getting this devil finished. We've got our base completely made. Now it's time to just start detailing everything and making sure that, you know, it is nice and polished and ready for paint. As we were kind of working on this, I kind of came up with the idea to put lights on the back of it to have it sort of cast a silhouette on the wall behind it. And when I was thinking about this, I got the idea to put some paper in the eyes, so that hopefully the light will kind of reflect off of the white siding on the building and it'll kind of light the eyes up just a little bit, just to give them a little bit of a glow. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out his eyes and start gluing some paper behind them. And then later we'll, you know, paint the rest of the eyes on. I'm also gonna go ahead and start adding some lights to the back of this, just taping them on up the frame and right underneath the eyes. And I think these are gonna give us a really cool effect. To be quite honest with you, I was able to take advantage of the fact that big box stores put their Christmas stuff out earlier and earlier every year. And usually by this time every year, mid-October, most Halloween is gone in stores. So I wasn't able to find any orange lights for this project, but I was able to find some red Christmas lights that I think look really nice on this project. I think that the red glow is like perfect for this devil. So our cardboard base is completely done and it's time to start painting. To begin, me and Hannah start with just giving it a generous base coat of a red paint. Just using some cheap acrylic paint because we have a lot of surface area to cover here. We're just gonna give it a good thick coat of red paint just to make sure that we get in all those little cracks and crevices, because I need a good base to start working from to do the details. Once our red base is completely painted, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing the detailing. Just mixing up a dark plum wine kind of purple color. This is gonna be my shadow color, and I'm gonna take this and just start dry brushing it in any of the areas that need to be deepened. So like the creases of the mouth, the lips, the laugh lines, the wrinkles, anything like that. And I'm just gonna go in and start shading all of our shapes to try and bring them out and make them look as rounded and three-dimensional as possible. Now that I've got all my shadows put in, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding in some highlights. Just using a light pumpkin orange color, I'm gonna go ahead and start dry brushing on some highlights, just hitting the tops of the cheeks and around the tops of the eyes and anywhere else that I need to bring a little bit more of a pop to. I honestly love how the colors on this devil worked out. I think that it looks very accurate to some of those vintage style illustrations. I really love how the orange highlights kind of give it this fiery glow. It's very ominous, and I am super happy with how it turned out. Lastly, I'm gonna cut a few pieces of some cardboard down to the right size for some teeth, and I'm gonna give these a dry brushing of white to kind of make them look a little bit lighter but still kind of dingy, letting that cardboard show through. And then using a little bit of duct tape, I'm just gonna attach these behind his mouth. Now I do just want to say there is going to be a curtain in his mouth, like the original concept sketch. I kind of want to do like a stringy curtain that you have to walk through in his mouth to kind of black it out just a little bit, but I'm not going to be putting that in until we actually go to set up for this party, just because of transporting it. It kind of makes things easier not having all that stuff hanging on it. But just imagine that there's a curtain in his mouth. And with that, our devil entrance is done. And y'all, I think it looks phenomenal. I am honestly so impressed that we turned this out in as short of an amount of time as we did. I think that it's very, very close to what I wanted it to be. Like, it is surprising how easy projects like this are when you have, you know, extra hands and the space to do it. Honestly, I'm just so thrilled with how this turned out. I think that it is some of the coolest stuff that we have ever worked on. All in all, I think that this is going to be the perfect entrance for this party, and I think that our guests are gonna have quite a time. I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode just as much as I did making it, because these are seriously some of my most favorite projects to date. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on a new video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next episode. Happy Halloween.